Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network for Thursday, May 20th. The Stanley Cup playoffs roll on. Ian Cameron with you. Alex B. Smith joining me as usual as well. And we have a special guest by request. And it tells you that, hey, we do good by our viewers. We do good by our listeners. He requested his appearance on this edition of the Ice Guys on a Minnesota Wild playoff game day for Game 3 of this series between the Golden Knights and the Wild. And we have equestered to his request Terry Edelmann joining us, Minnesota Wild fanatic supreme. Terry, welcome in. How are you feeling on a Minnesota Wild game day in a big Game 3 with the series tied 1-1 against Vegas?
Thanks for having me again, Ian. I'm super excited for tonight's game. I'm really confident the Wild are going to get it done. So I'm totally ready for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Minnesota, you could say they could be up 2-0 right now in this series because Game 1 they were victorious. You could have said that could have went to Vegas too, but you also said the Vegas win in Game 2 could have went to Minnesota. And Minnesota did have the edge in shots in that game. And I thought just had as many, if not more, quality chances than Vegas. So good stuff in that series. And if you're Minnesota, you're feeling good. You got the split, and now you're back home at the XL Energy Center and ready for Game 3. Alex B. Smith, we're going to get to some stuff, about last night first. We're going to do a recap of last night's action. I have some stuff to say about last night's action. There's a couple of rants I'm going to get to about what we saw in the playoffs last night. But Alex B. Smith has a rant for a different reason right now to talk about a certain in-game betting article and the nonsense being spewed in it that you cannot profit from it and that it's too difficult to make a live bet and hope to win with it, which is the most absurd thing we've ever heard in our lives because we basically disprove that on a daily and nightly basis. We already disproved it 2 nights ago on the Betcast. Alex, talk about this, a certain Sean Shapiro and the article he just wrote recently about in-game live NHL betting.
Yeah, Sean Shapiro, he writes for The Atlantic. He does NHL business. And so we started this article off by saying he's writing basically about how the NHL needs to use sports betting to boost its profile, as one of the 4 major sports to try to increase revenue, increase TV exposure and so forth, which he's right about that. This is definitely an avenue. We talk about it on this show constantly, how there's people who, discovered sports betting on hockey or even discovered watching hockey at all based on our show because they were betting on it and winning money. So that is definitely an avenue to go for. But he also he says that hockey is not built for in-game wagering, saying that it's too fast, too unpredictable, that the timing doesn't allow itself to bet for games. Like I said, we've disproved that on a nightly basis. I've been crushing in-game betting in the NHL for the last 2 seasons, and it's proven and documented how well I've done with that, as well as many others. Ian's done well with that. As also, like I said, we have a live betcast that we did just nights ago, and we're doing one coming up again soon. That disproves that. You can win betting in-game on hockey if you watch the game, pay attention to the game enough. This. But then later on in the article, he's also talking to one of the NHL executives who's basically in charge of trying to expand different things with analytics and in-game stats and so forth, saying that eventually they want the books to start posting things like who's the fastest skater on the ice, who has the hardest shot going, in the game, and making that a live wager option. That's something that's actually virtually impossible to try to register and figure out. And it would basically be, lining up to have a bunch of sucker bets, which is what the books would want. Obviously, the books don't want, people like us, picking away at them because we know the softness of the lines and we understand the timing better than they do. But to suggest that this is such a difficult sport to bet live and then bring up something like, oh, let's bet on who has the hardest shot in the game. Shit that you bet on for like All-Star Friday night or whatever. No real gambler is going to be betting on these things. And the fact that he would just suggest that is absolutely insane. So, Sean Shapiro, I'm welcoming you to our next betcast. Please, I've already tagged you on Twitter. So if you can follow me back, and if you're willing to join us and watch and see some actual sports gamblers win money at betting in game, and we can prove you wrong in person.
The invitation has been sent. The red carpet's been rolled out. There we have it. So there you go. You can see firsthand how we're cashing in next goal, next team to score, in-game bets. We're cashing in live totals like I did the other night with over 3.5 with Minnesota Vegas when it was 2-1 in that game at the time. We even do some live goal scorer props, live sides, draw in-game. Yeah, I can't win at live in-game betting. Yeah, I can't do it. It's impossible. That's why I cashed with draw plus 220 live during the second period of Boston, Washington last night, right? Can't win, right? Can't win.
Yeah.
What a bunch of garbage that is.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
clearly I flipped the coin last night. Yeah, I clearly flipped the coin in the last 2 nights where I've literally been on this program and said, this is what I'm going to bet live. And then that number pops up and I bet it live and cash it. Yeah, I'm just throwing darts at the wall, apparently.
Yeah, live betting, there's a science to it, and the science is very simple. Watch the game. Watch the game. It's really that simple. If you watch the game and you see how the game flow is transpiring, and you see who's carrying the play, who's possessing the puck more, who's getting the higher danger chances, who's testing the opposing goalie more in these games, there are betting opportunities to be made live in-game that you can absolutely 100% capitalize on and profit from, regardless of what anybody else says, if you watch the games. And we've proven that. We proved it on the Betcast the other night. I welcome everybody to join us Friday night so we can prove it again, because I will make it official right now. Our next Betcast Friday night, tomorrow night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, and like I said, it's no secret. I've literally written an article about this at the beginning of the season on how to bet in-game in the NHL. You can Google it and find it. So the fact that he just was suggested is absurd.
May I reference? I was calling him Sean Shapiro because the Blue Jays president is pronounced Shapiro. Mark Shapiro. I know some people say Shapiro, but Shapiro, tomato, right? Whatever it is. But regardless, Sean, listen to us, please. You can make money with live in-game betting. You're going to lose some. Of course, you're going to lose some. You're not going to win them all. But say you can't win it all. You can't win anything with live in-game NHL betting is absolutely absurd. It's simple as that. And I would refer Sean to Alex's well-written article that he wrote on NHL live betting. Read that stuff, and then basically get it through your mind, get it through your brain that you can absolutely make money with live in-game betting based on a series of different ways you can go about it. So well said, Alex. We'll move on. And again, as I mentioned just a second ago, we do have the Ice Guys Betcast, the second one scheduled tomorrow night on Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Again, note the start time, 6:30 Eastern, because that's when the Boston-Washington game begins tomorrow night. Game 4 of that series with the Bruins leading 2-1. So we've got that game. We're going to have Colorado-St. Louis tomorrow night. We're going to have Winnipeg Edmonton tomorrow night, and we're going to have Nashville Carolina tomorrow night. So looking forward to the Friday night Betcast. Tuesday was a ton of fun. And if you missed Tuesday night's Betcast for whatever reason, then join us Friday night for sure. Definitely looking forward to it. No question about that. So Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We'll try to go as late as possible, just like we did Tuesday night till the end of I think the latest game is St. Louis, Colorado on Friday night. So we'll try to go right till the end of that one tomorrow night on the Betcast. So looking forward to that. Let's recap last night first. Boston, Washington. That was a funny scene there that we saw at the end of that game. We saw the Bruins, of course, end up with the victory. A misplay, a gaffe by Ilya Samsonov, and miscommunication between him and defenseman Justin Schultz, turning the puck over, and Craig Smith takes it and ends up wrapping it around for the Samsonov caught out of the net, nobody in position, and he gets the game-winning goal for the Boston Bruins, and they take Game 3 of the series by a score of 3-2. Look, it's been a 1-goal game. It's been 3 straight overtime games in the Bruins Capitals series, so you may just want to start betting the draw right away. Each game in this series moving forward, because somehow, some way, these two teams have found their way to get to overtime. And I kind of sensed we were in the making for another overtime game, because I didn't bet it pregame, but I hopped on it live during the second period, and I posted it on Twitter, draw plus 220 in game, and we ended up getting it. And the Bruins, a big win. Look, Boston probably deserved the win, I thought, because the way the first period, it could have been 3-0 Boston. with the chances they had. Samsonov was incredible. Brendan Dillon, he blocks a shot off his skate, and it would have been a wide open net to score for Marchand if not for that. I mean, Boston could have been up 3-0 in that game after the first period. Unfortunately for Samsonov, he basically takes a big giant shit on his great night that he had, especially in the first period with that horrible giveaway and gaff that he had in overtime. So unfortunate way to wreck what had been an outstanding night in net for Ilya Samsonov. And how about Ovi giving him the gears, giving him the lip service after that mistake? He was yelling something angrily in Russian, in his native tongue at Ilya Samsonov. You could tell, like, what the fuck are you doing, guy, in Russian, is probably what he was saying. You can't make that mistake in overtime of a playoff game. Give the puck away and miscommunicate with your defenseman. But it happened that way, and Boston gets the win. Terry Edelmann, what are your thoughts on that game? I know you're a Wild fan, but you're here on the show today, start to finish. We got to get your NHL thoughts overall. What do you think, Boston, Washington?
Well, I'm really happy it went to OT. I've bet OT all 3 games for that series. So I'm 3 for 3 in OT in that series. And I'll tell everybody right now, I'm betting OT the rest of that entire series, every game, because these two teams are so evenly matched that that's why they've gone to OT, right? They're so evenly matched. I was also on the Caps money line as well, so it sucked the ending of the game. But draw is the best way to go in that series for sure.
No doubt it has been. Alex, Boston up 2-1 in the series. I mean, I have the Bruins in the series. I don't know if did you take the Bruins in the series, Alex?
I didn't bet it, but as far as like for bracket challenge and everything, I have the Bruins winning the Stanley Cup. So definitely need them to take care of business here, and they did. But and the thing is, I'm worried now. I should have been tailing these regulation draws the whole time, but I feel like if I do it now, chances are it'll be the first game to not go to overtime. So if you've already been on it like Terry has, then by all means, keep on riding it, because you still up quite a bit, even if you just betting a single unit on it. So that being said, a great effort by Boston to get that kind of a gritty win. That one of these teams really is going to have to step up and try to put a game away in regulation. You don't want this to be a back and forth beatdown, because these periods will take a toll on you. Now we're talking about 4 periods, 5 periods, and we saw it happen with that Columbus Tampa Bay series last year. We've seen it with a couple other series where those periods start to add up over time, and they come back to bite you later in the postseason.
Yeah, no doubt. And we'll have to see if Washington can bounce back. It's a big race now for this Washington, or big game coming up for this Washington team, coming up 3-1. They want to avoid that deficit in Game 4. We'll be on the Betcast tomorrow night, seeing if the Capitals can avoid a 3-1 series deficit in this series. Thoughts for me will be brief on this next game, Carolina-Nashville last night. I mean, Nashville played pretty good. They got stronger as they went on, but look, Alex Nedeljkovic just absolutely scintillating in net. Give credit to the Carolina PK unit last night. I mean, they were in the penalty box that whole night, pretty much, in that game. And Rod Brind'Amour actually said it, and I knew he wouldn't be happy with the amount of penalties his team took. He shouldn't have been happy. I mean, you gave this team like almost double-digit opportunities on the power play, too many. Luckily, Nashville is miserable on the power play. They have been all season, and they couldn't take advantage of it. And Carolina got the goaltending they needed. And look, Nashville had a chance and couldn't break the door down, and Carolina gets the victory in Game 2 to go up 2-0 in that series. That could be 4 straight, 5 max, in my opinion, at this point. I think it's going to be very tough. I know Nashville going back home going to get a little energy boost from that great crowd there, where they're going to have 12,000 people, pretty good attendance figure for that Game 3 and 4 in Nashville, same numbers that Carolina was able to have in attendance for their first 2 home games, but they're in trouble. I mean, Carolina is just the superior team, the deeper team. The 1 through 6, the blue line is better. The goaltender's been a little bit better than UC Saros. Nedeljkovic has outplayed Saros in this series. And I trust the game breakers offensively of Carolina more than Nashville. Look, Aho, Svechnikov, Teravainen, Trocheck, they're showing up. What are you getting out of Johansson, Duchesne? Even Forsberg scored in Game 1 quiet last night. What are you getting from those big guns in Nashville? Absolutely nothing. Johansson and Duchesne didn't even show up on the expected goal charts for Carolina in that game last night, which showed you they did jack shit all right, in that hockey game last night. Same as always from those two stiffs when it comes to playoff hockey, as far as I'm concerned. Terrible from those two. Terrible considering what they're getting paid. Nashville goes down 2-0 in the series. Alex, it looks like it's going to be a quick one here, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and I would be happy with a sweep. Like I said, I bet the under 5.5 for amount of games in this series, and that's what it seems like. If Nashville's going to win a game, it's gonna have to be Game 3. There's a couple scenarios right now where it seems like if a team doesn't win a Game 3, they're gonna be done. And that's definitely the case with Nashville. Like I said, they hung tough, keep it 1-0 in that game last night. But like I said, it's just still this. Carolina's just got too much speed, too much of everything right now. Like I said, Nashville was lucky to get in with the run that they had, and people talked about how the Central was a weaker division, and they were able to kind of beat up on those bottom feeders late in the year. And then even when they played Carolina already clinched the division, so they had nothing to play for. So some of those wins a little bit kind of just paper wins basically, and we're starting to see that now in the series.
Yeah, no doubt. Terry, what did you have on this series before it began from a betting standpoint, and what's your thoughts on the series overall?
I was on Carolina. I'm on Carolina to win the series, and a few series parlays I have going on. And I was on Carolina in regulation last night, so I was happy how the game finished. I do think Nashville. I don't think Nashville's getting swept. I think they're going to win one of these 2 home games. Nashville has a really good fan base at home, and I think they're going to squeak out a win. But I do think it's Carolina in 5 games is what I'm thinking. But I do think Nashville will maybe get to OT, maybe get a win, a Game 3 or 4. I could see them getting 1 win, but Carolina's in the driver's seat in the series for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Look, I see, and a lot of times when the superior team wins the first 2 at home, and I think they're going to win the series, a lot of times I say, you know what, maybe they lose Game 3 when the scene shifts to the other team's building. But then they'll bounce back, maybe win Game 4, and then end it in 5. I think that kind of pattern often happens. I could see that here with this series. At Carolina, maybe they drop Game 3, but capable of bouncing back, winning at least 1 in Nashville, and then wrapping it up in 5. That could be what we see here. Next game, Winnipeg Jets, Edmonton Oilers. Here we go again with Edmonton, right? I mean, they look like they're playing great in the second half of the season. Connor McDavid with the incredible over 100-point season in 56 games. Incredible stuff. Leon Draisaitl, the tandem that those two are, we know absolutely terrific for the Edmonton Oilers. But last night, what was the issue again? Depth scoring. What was the issue again? Unfortunately, defensive breakdowns at bad times. I actually thought they played good defensively most of the game. Edmonton did outshoot Winnipeg, but here's another growing concern for the Edmonton Oilers. And we saw it against Chicago in their first round loss last year, or their play-in series loss last year to the Blackhawks in the bubble. Edmonton's got to roll up the sleeves, put the work boots on, get a little dirty, get your hands dirty, score some tough goals. You're not going to do everything with flash and with dash and with end-to-end rushes at playoff time. You're actually much more rarely going to score goals that way in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I think Edmonton's still trying to figure out, with the checking tighter and with defensive aptitude really increasing and focus at Stanley Cup playoff time, teams realizing, and Paul Maurice said it, and I should have maybe heeded it and stayed off Edmonton, knowing that, hey, they didn't get off to a good start last year. Maybe they're going to get off to a bad start here as well. But Paul Maurice said it. We have to be airtight in our defensive assignments and our details. And I thought last night, guys, Alex and Terry, the Winnipeg Jets were airtight in their defensive details. There was no time. There was no space. There was no room for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to maneuver in that game last night. It was a great defensive effort. Connor Hellebuyck looked like Vezina Trophy caliber Connor Hellebuyck as well last night. He was great in that victory. And the Edmonton Oilers just didn't generate enough. I thought from Connor McDavid's standpoint, that was a plodding game for him. I thought it was a game where at times you couldn't even tell he existed on the ice, to be honest with you. It was really that poor of a game for him and for Leon Draisaitl in that game. You could say Winnipeg got, they got a deflection goal. They got the long seeing eye shot from Logan Stanley to go in. Tucker Poolman jumps into the play and scores a goal. Think about it. Tucker Poolman and Logan Stanley guys were being considered to not crack the starting defenseman lineup for Paul Maurice and the Jets in this series. He ends up going with his gut, going with his intuition, says, I'm going to put Stanley and I'm going to put Poolman in my defenseman, top 6 defensemen to begin the series here for game 1. And he gets Poolman and Stanley, 5-6 defensemen on this team, both scoring a goal last night in game 1. So tip of the cap to Paul Maurice from a coaching standpoint. But Edmonton's got to be a lot better. I think they had the puck. They did have shots. They did have some chances, but a lot of the end-to-end rush and the pretty passing plays and that incredible offensive finesse that Edmonton loves to have, they were shut down with that. And now it's up to Edmonton, and it's up to Tippett to drill this into their heads. Tip a goal in, deflect a goal in, get to the front of the net, look for a rebound, look to jam the puck through the pads of the goalie, get in that crease and score a goal like Taylor Hall scored, when he tied the game for Boston against Washington in game 2. Get to that paint area, get to the crease area, find a way to score tough goals, because I find Edmonton still relies on that pretty goal far too much. And they need McDavid and Draisaitl to be a whole lot better. Simple as that. Maybe I'm being harsh, but guess what? And I know they're incredible talents. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are incredible hockey players. We know that. I'm not denying that or debating that whatsoever. But they aren't gods, all right? They are not above ridicule when they deserve it. Last night for Leon and Connor, pointless between them, -4 in their plus-minus rating between them, and Connor McDavid only having 2 shots on goal for the entire game is not good enough. Not good enough for the caliber players they are. I mean, maybe we ask a lot of Connor McDavid, but hey, this is your bed. You've made it. You got to sleep in it now. You're arguably a dominant hockey player, one of the best in the league. We expect you to dominate or have at least a very strong effort nightly. And I don't think we saw that from Connor McDavid last night. I thought it was a pedestrian game. I thought it actually was a borderline poor game, terrible game by his standards. And then to compound it, that he played a bad game last night, much below his standards. And look, he's lofty standards. I get it. But they're below those standards. They're high standards, but they're high for a reason, because we know what he's capable of. They were way below his standards last night. And then I got to hear Connor in the postgame, and this is disappointing. I want ownership from Connor McDavid about his play after a night like that. And instead I got nothing, none, 0 of ownership for his play last night from McDavid after that game with what he said. He said, yeah, it's disappointing, but we did a lot of good things. We threw a lot of pucks at the net. They got a tip. We didn't. That's playoff hockey. No, I hate that response. It's a terrible response. No, I wanted to hear I got to be better, because I know I can be better. I've shown it all season, the kind of player I can be. And what I did last night was nothing close to the kind of player that I've shown I can be. Simple as that. Ownership. Take it, Connor McDavid. You're a captain, for Christ's sake. Yeah, it was a poor game on your standard, on your part. Way below your usual standard. You've got to accept it. You got to own it. I would have liked to have heard some individual ownership that say, hey, I got to be better than this, because I didn't make an impact on the game. As far as I'm concerned, he didn't make an impact, Connor McDavid, last night in game 1, and he's got to be better. And now it's referendum time all over again for the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow night. We'll all be on the air, on the Betcast, to watch this Edmonton team and what kind of response they have, what kind of fire in their belly they have. Because I'll tell you what, right now, if they go back to Winnipeg down 2-0, the noose is going to get even tighter around this group. And it is now an important, vital response. Answer the bell. Will you please, Edmonton? Answer the bell Friday night in game 2. I want to see Connor McDavid bringing it 10 times more than he did last night. Same with his buddy, Leon Draisaitl. And if they don't, it's going to be big-time trouble. The one guy I don't blame last night, guys, is Mike Smith. I thought Mike Smith couldn't have done much with the goals that went in on him. I thought he played well enough. I blame the offense, and I blame get your nose dirty, get gritty, get to the front of the net, score tough goals, take some punishment to score, sacrifice, do all of that stuff. Edmonton didn't do that last night, and if they keep playing this soft, pansy, stay to the outside, rely on finesse, rely on skill, game in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's not always the game that wins in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They got to get it changed. We'll see what they can do game 2 on Friday night. So there we are. I'm getting tough on the Oilers, but they deserve to be getting, for me, they deserve it that I'm getting tough on them, because that's a bad first step. That's a bad first impression for a team that's trying to get over the playoff hump. Alex, well, what did you think of that game last night, Jets Oilers?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I was on Edmonton in that game. I thought they were going to come out, fired up, like we talked about. We get that the pressure is on them almost as much as it is on Toronto, to make a run out of this division. But to show up flat like this, like you said, especially after how things went last year with that 5-game series against Chicago, I'm starting to wonder now, maybe Connor McDavid's one of these regular season players. He's just great in the regular season. He doesn't have that clutch gene to stand up and lead a team, steal some games in the playoffs. All the best superstars over the years, the Crosbys, the Canes, different guys, they've been able to steal a game for their team, just like goalies. We talk about goalies stealing games, but there's some superstar players that can do it. And McDavid's going to have to start doing that as early as tomorrow night. And like I said, Draisaitl as well. These are, two guys that, we talk about, they don't have the depth, but now they have the best third line that they've had probably since, those two have been in Edmonton. They've given some good goaltending. We can only wonder how long can Mike Smith, hold up, and make big saves. So it's going to be up to 97 to score some goals and take a true leadership role with this team right now in the series.
Absolutely. The Trout comparison is pretty good, actually. I know it's a different sport. It's baseball, but playoff Mike Trout hasn't always been good. Now, he hasn't been in the playoffs very often, but the couple times he has with the Angels, he's been disappointing. I find a lot of times he comes up in the regular season with guys in scoring position or the bases loaded, and he's not always a shoo-in to deliver, in those spots. I've noticed that. It's usually when I'm betting the Angels, I notice that. And all of a sudden, I get concerned about him. And Connor McDavid, look, it's great. I mean, obviously in the regular season, there's more open ice. There's no doubt. It's much tougher to get open ice and space in the playoffs because the checking is tighter. The defense focuses more and tries to take away the top players of the other team to an even greater extent. I get all of that, but you got to have a bigger impact than that last night. 2 shots on goal, 0 points, and a -2 rating. Not good enough for McDavid. And Draisaitl, same thing. He wasn't good either. Terry, what do you think? Jets Oilers last night.
I have to agree with both of you guys. I was on Edmonton in regulation yesterday. What I'm noticing is teams like Edmonton and Florida so far, biggest disappointments, I think, so far in the playoffs. They're not really playoff teams like throughout the last few years, right? So they don't seem like they have the ability to like win the series in the playoffs. McDavid, like you said, he had 2 shots on goal. Edmonton lives by McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, I think that's a pretty good statement. I think it's a pretty fair statement that if you take those 2 guys out, what does that team really have? Like, if you take those 2 guys away, does that team compete for the playoffs? And then now they're in the playoffs, and neither of them are able to produce. It's only the first game, and I also give Winnipeg a lot of credit. Winnipeg, I made money for me all season long until their rough stretch there they had. And I will admit I'm on Edmonton to win the series. I kind of looked past Winnipeg because of that long losing streak they had. But the last few games to finish up the season, they looked better, and they looked good in that first game. Hellebuck looked good, so I don't know. Could Winnipeg win the series?
Of course they can. I think they definitely can win this series. They proved that last night. No Nick Ehlers, no Pierre-Luc Dubois. We've got a blue line that isn't exactly depth-laden. We struggled down the stretch. We didn't play our best hockey, and they gutted it out. They played playoff-style hockey. They played defense. They got the saves they needed. They capitalized on a couple of chances. They shut down 2 of the best players in the NHL. Of course, Winnipeg can win this series, and they proved that last night, no question, in that victory. Now it's up to Edmonton to respond, because I shudder to think what's going to happen in that city and with that fan base if they go down 2-0 in this series, going back to Winnipeg. That becomes a paramount game for them tomorrow night. And you're right. We get these little glimpses, to Terry's point about the third line, the second line, the fourth line chipping in, and Edmonton got some of that from the depth forwards in game or down the stretch of the regular season. But where did we see it last night? We didn't see it, from that second line, that third line, that fourth line. So are they only going to show up in the regular season too? And again, more than anything, don't always look for the finesse goals. Look for the tougher goals. That's what Edmonton's got to do. We'll see if they make the adjustment. The final game last night was St. Louis, Colorado. Not so much talk about the game itself, which played out kind of the way I thought. Colorado, just too much for St. Louis. They had the puck most of the night. Although St. Louis, they obviously the play tilted in their favor back half of the game when they fell behind 3-0. I think because Colorado got to that big lead, they laid off the gas pedal a little bit. And St. Louis capitalized with that second period goal. And still, Colorado was controlling the game and still leading by 2 goals. But then all of a sudden, the incident occurred, and we know what that was. Nazem Kadri back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Open ice elbow hit to the head, or at least it looked like it was aimed. He didn't get all of it, but he definitely raised the elbow up. You could see it clearly on the replay. On Justin Falk, defenseman for the St. Louis Blues. And now he's having an in-person hearing today. And as you know, with those, when you have an in-person hearing with the player safety department, you are right away, the possibility is there for a minimum 5-game suspension with all in-person hearings. So we might see this again where Kadri is sitting in the press box. And look, he just hasn't learned. He's never going to get it. He clearly hasn't gotten it to this point, and he's just never going to get it. That you got to ease off sometimes for the betterment of your team. You're an important player. You can say what you will about Nazem Kadri with his reckless nonsense and these hits and these suspension-worthy incidents that he's getting involved with, but he's a damn good hockey player. He's a very good two-way player, score goals for you, win face-offs, play 5-on-5, play power play, play penalty kill, play all situations. What good is it, though, if he's going to be an idiot on the ice and just recklessly targets someone's head in the middle of the ice, clear as day? It's not like they're not going to be able to see it a million times on replay. It's not like you can get away with it anymore. And now he's going to get suspended, and his team's going to be without a very key player in their lineup because of all the different things he can do. Win faceoffs. He's a great faceoff guy. He always has been, going back to when he was with the Leafs. He plays in all situations, but he hurts his team with this kind of shit. As simple as that, because now they're not going to have him for the next few games. Maybe they're probably still too good for St. Louis, where it's not going to haunt them. But what if there's a cup final? What if this is you're playing Minnesota or Vegas later on in the playoffs here, and Kadri does that and you're without him for several games? You could feel it more against a team that's probably going to give you a little bit of a tougher go. I mean, it's just selfish. It's not using your head. It's not thinking of the bigger picture. And Nazem Kadri's got to cut it out. And they've told him already he's got to cut it out. That's a big problem the Leafs had and why they didn't re-sign him. They didn't like that Boston incident in the playoffs. Selfish, bad hit. You got suspended. We were without you. You were key to our lineup. You were key to our playoff success. And all of a sudden, he's out because he's totally reckless on the ice. And same thing again last night. He clearly hasn't learned his lesson. And because of that, guys, I don't think they're giving him a slap on the wrist here. If I'm George Peros and I'm the player safety department, this is probably going to be a lengthy suspension because he's a repeat offender. He's done this shit before, and now he's taken his spot. He's basically taken himself out of this series, essentially now for the rest of the way, and maybe into the second round too if Colorado gets there. Just frustrating. It's unnecessary. When you see him and you're skating toward Falk, you got to say, you know what? What have I done before? Oh, yeah, I've been suspended for this kind of stuff. Maybe I don't do that. Maybe I don't follow through. Maybe I don't raise my fucking elbow, to really make it look like I'm trying to hurt the guy. It's completely idiotic to see Kadri this reckless, this selfish, this insensitive to the bigger picture of his team. And, it's unfortunate because he's a good player. I like watching him play, but I don't like seeing him do that. And now he's going to pay the price for it, suspension-wise. Alex, your thoughts on Blues Avs and the Kadri incident?
Yeah, like I said, Avalanche took care of business. Nothing, shocking there the way that they played and won that game. But like you said, with Nazem Kadri, that's the third time in 4 years where he's had a dirty hit and has been suspended. I would think the league would give him 7 games. So even if this one ends in 4, he's still going to miss 3 games out of the second round, which that could be, like I said, more detrimental to the team than him being out for this particular series. But as you said, it was just unnecessary, especially the time of the hit too. I can see if you're on the Blues and you're possibly looking at a spot of going down 0-2. I could see taking a risk on a hit like that to try to get your team fired up. But Kadri was on the winning side, and with him taking that hit, that 5-minute major penalty that was assessed with the match penalty, the Blues ended up scoring a goal and ended up kind of making it a bit more of a game. They were going back and forth trading goals, but they were still within one late in the third until those 2 empty net goals going for the Avalanche. So you almost risk losing the home ice advantage in this series. Like I said, more likely going to be done for the rest of this one as well. So, taking some of that depth out of that Avalanche lineup. Like you said, it's just an absolute boneheaded play, and you can't afford to make mistakes like that. And like I said, it seemed like he had maybe crossed past that, moving on from Toronto to Colorado. That he's kind of matured, kind of in the way where we talk about with Brad Marchand. How some of the antics he used to do, he doesn't do as much these days. It seemed like that was the case for Kadri, but I guess we were wrong. That was a absolutely dumb play.
Yeah, just unnecessary. I mean, I get it. It could have been a lot worse. There's been worse. There's definitely been worse. I get it. But it was just he puts himself in that spot where he doesn't have to, just basically go right over to Falk and then raise the elbow as well. Just disappointing to see that. And look, one last thing I'll bring up on this incident is what it almost did in this game. They were up 3-1 at the time in complete control. You give St. Louis a 5-minute major power play, and they scored on it 3-2. All of a sudden, it's a game. St. Louis is 1 goal away from tying that game, and they actually almost made it 3-3 in the minutes after that 5-minute power play, all because of Kadri. He gave life to the Blues, almost coming back in that game as well. Almost paid the price for that penalty right there in that game with a near Blues comeback. But thankfully for Colorado, a McKinnon goal with about 5 minutes to go put the game away 4-2. But again, Blues didn't have anything going. They had no life. He gave them life with that 5-minute penalty. And Nazem Kadri probably going to serve a lot more than just a 5-minute penalty with that incident when the player safety department makes their ruling. Terry, your thoughts on Blues Avalanche last night?
Yeah. I didn't have any action on that game. I'm trying to stay away from that series. But obviously, as a huge Wild fan, I'm keeping my eyes on that series, of course. Kadri has the history of doing this. And, I know he likes to be physical. He likes to hit people. But you should look at someone like Marcus Foligno. Foligno is hitting all over the ice, but he doesn't hit in a dirty way. You can hit people, you can be physical, you can play a physical game, but you don't have to do it in a dirty Tom Wilson, Kadri type way. I hope they throw the book at Kadri. I don't want him anywhere near any Minnesota players. I still remember when he hit Nicklas Backstrom behind the net. Backstrom was never the same for the Wild after that injury. So I don't want him anywhere near any Wild players if the Wild advance past Vegas. So I hope the NHL throws the book at him. I think you need to take more serious. You need to take these things more serious, more seriously than they have been.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get something. There's no question. All right, let's go to today's card now. We've got 4 games. We'll start with the Florida Panthers, Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay minus 130. Home favorites, total 5.5, shaded to the over. If you're the Panthers, you're down 2-0. You're facing the defending Stanley Cup champions. They just know how to win. They've got incredible depth in their 4 lines, especially with a Stamkos and Kucherov back here for the postseason. The blue line, of course, has also got, Hedman and a McDonough leading the blue line. You're spoiled rotten in that regard as well if you're Tampa. Vasilevsky, still one of the premier goalies in the league. And now you got to try to win 4 of the next 5 games against this team. It's not going to be easy for Florida. But I know this team's got grit, character, heart, perseverance. I don't think they're quitting. I don't think they're giving up. They didn't have a good game. Barkov and talked about Connor McDavid reprimanding him. We got to reprimand Huberdeau and Barkov a little bit. I don't think they played their best game in game 2. I'd expect them to play better. I'm on Barkov and Huberdeau to score tonight. Simple as that. In a game like this, backs against the wall for the Florida Panthers, I'm looking at the best players being the best players to keep them afloat in this series and try to get a game here and make it 2-1. Because we know if they go down 3-0 in this series, it's just about over. They've been the better team still 5-on-5. to be honest with you. The 5-on-5 play for Florida has been good. They were better than Tampa 5-on-5 in game 1. It was a little closer in game 2, but still, Florida held their own. Vasilevsky was good. Tampa capitalized on some chances. Again, Tampa was better defensively in game 2. They checked and put the clamps down on both Huberdeau and Barkov in that game. I think Florida, though, is not going down without a fight. I have a split bet on Florida. I'm not giving up on them just yet. I have the first period plus 115 on Florida because I think that's when the best punch is going to come from the Panthers. That first 20 minutes, desperation, 2-0 down. You've got to try to get this game. You must get this game. The first period is where you're going to see this team probably go all out. I don't mind them playing in Tampa. They've played well in Tampa this year at times, the Panthers. They've won in Tampa already this season in the head-to-head series. First period, I like more. I'll have a little bit more money personally on the first period. Florida plus 115, but also a sprinkle on the full game as well, plus 110, plus 105. And I am on the full game over 5.5, minus 120. Zigzag with the total for me. Over game 1, under game 2, and the total got bumped up to 6. And now we see the drop back down to 5.5. I think we get goals here. Florida's got to get the first goal, put the pressure on Tampa. And again, because I think they're going to be on the front foot, being aggressive, trying to get that first goal, trying to score, that will help the over as well. So I like Florida first period, Florida full game, and also Florida Tampa Bay over 5.5, minus 120. Alex, what's your thoughts here? Panthers and Lightning.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that Florida first period. I got it at plus 110. That's definitely the way to go because you'll know where the game is going to head based on this first period. If Florida doesn't come out with any energy and punch and Tampa, jumps out to a lead, that might be the end of them in this game and in the series potentially. So it's imperative that they get off to a good start. I also like the first period over, but I'm not going to lay $1.25. Once again, I'm going to attack this in game. I'm going to wait within the first 2 or 3 minutes to try to get a better price and then jump on that. But I definitely like Florida money line in the first period at plus $1.10.
Yeah, and Sean Shapiro, take notes how you get a better price with a first period over live in game rather than betting the thing before the puck gets dropped.
Exactly,
Terry Edelmann, what do you think here with the Panthers and the Lightning?
Yeah, so I said previously, Florida has been a huge disappointment to me in the playoffs so far. I really thought that they were going to upset Tampa in the first round, even though I guess Florida's the favorites in the series. But a lot of people are on Tampa because of their history, their recent playoff success, because of Kucherov and Stamkos both back in the lineup. So I was on Florida. I've been on Florida both games in this series, and I regret it. So I'm jumping on to the other side here. I'm going to take Tampa Bay money line. I got it at minus 130. I think Tampa Bay has the series in control. Florida losing both games at home, going back to Tampa Bay now. I think Tampa Bay is going to get the win. I like how you guys your thoughts on the first period for Florida. If I was going to take Florida, it would definitely be in the first period. But I want to be surprised if they do jump out to a lead. But I think as the game goes on, by the end of it, Tampa Bay is going to be ahead, and I think they win the game.
And I applaud Coach Q for giving Chris Driedger another start. That was not a Chris Driedger's fault game the other night. Yeah. And he's stuck with the same goalie now, giving him another chance, giving him confidence. I think Driedger is going to be better tonight. I really do. Because, again, the coach is stuck with me now. That's a confidence builder. He didn't go to do what Washington did. We'll start our third different goalie in the first 3 games of the series because he could have went tonight. He could have went back to Bobrovsky tonight as well. He didn't do that. He stuck with Chris Driedger in net tonight. So I think that's going to be good news for Driedger. It's like, hey, the coach believes in me. The team believes in me. Let's go. Let's get this done.
And one thing to note too is, and that's the reason, one of the other reasons why I like taking Florida in this first period is because, like I said, if they don't, step up, or if they're, let's say they get a 1-0 lead, but this, Tampa Bay still knocking on the doorstep and they've got more energy, more chances, then I can go and get a better price in game on Tampa, money line, and adjust for that and still cash my first bet. So that's the thing, and that's what I like to do with the playoffs sometimes. If it's where it's, things are kind of that we're in that tipping range now of games, obviously, going in games 3, 4, and 5, things really kind of, shaking out and deciding what's going to happen next. you can kind of just use that first period leverage and then, see where you go from there in game and adjust accordingly.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great way to look at it. I agree.
Yeah, very good strategy indeed with that. Pittsburgh Penguins, New York Islanders. Hopefully Melissa is listening and watching right now. Penguins fan, she was with us on the Betcast Tuesday night. She's been a guest on this show before as well. We've got the even money here pretty much on both sides here in this game. -110 the total, 5.5 shaded to the under. This one is a tricky one. I have a small bet on the over, but I don't love it compared to some of the other plays I have on this card. It's just a simple, we had an over, we had an under. Feels like maybe we go back in the over direction tonight. We see some goals. And I think Pittsburgh, with Malkin potentially making his series debut tonight, that's going to help the offense. Hasn't been confirmed yet. It's going to be a game time decision. But look, he was on the ice for the Penguins morning skate. He was in line rushes. He was in the first power play practice unit this morning. I think that is a clear indication that there's a pretty good chance Evgeny Malkin's going to play tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins and return to the lineup. Pittsburgh did what they had to do. They had to win game 2. They did. Tristan Jarry, give him credit, a nice bounce back performance in game 2. We talked about how he was exposed a little bit in game 1 with that weak glove hand. He made the adjustment, and he was a lot better in net in the game 2 victory for the Pittsburgh Penguins. See if he can keep that going. Varlamov had a shaky first period, I thought, for the Islanders, but he really settled in and played a good hockey game from that point on. This is a tricky one for me because I've already got Pittsburgh in the series to win it. I think Alex does as well, if I'm not mistaken. Penguins to win the series. I'm not crazy about adding on a Pittsburgh bet here in game 3. Of this series, especially with the Islanders going home. They'll be excited, especially early in the game, to be back home. You'd expect the Islanders, especially off the loss, to come out strong, much like Pittsburgh came out strong in game 2, after they lost game 1. So I'm off the side in this game. I just have a small over. It's a +115. It's a good price. It's a series where we saw the first game go over, the second game stay under. It could be one of those series where it does zigzag a little bit from a total standpoint. So for that reason, small bet for me, over 5.5. And yes, everybody in the chat is talking about it right now, watching this show live on YouTube. And I mentioned it on our Betcast Tuesday night. Jake Gensel had 7 shots on goal, all right, in game 2, all right, and didn't score. That's not going to continue. If he keeps generating like that in terms of shots, quality chances, he's going to eventually find the back of the net. I think it's going to be tonight. You look at the expected goal charts for Pittsburgh, Jake Gensel's like right near the top, first or second in terms of expected goals that he's generated, and yet he hasn't scored. That's going to change soon. If he keeps making the impact offensively, getting those chances that he's been getting, he will eventually find one. I think it could be tonight. So yes, Jake Gensel, I can get him +175 even in some spots to score a goal tonight. Absolutely. Sometimes I like better value. I like to go for longer shots sometimes with the goal scorer props, but Jake Gensel +175 to me is a great bet still because I think he is way overdue to finally find the back of the net. And I think tonight could be that night. Alex, what do you think here? Penguins and Islanders.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm actually going to tell you guys on that Jake Gensel that to score. I see 165 in my book, so I'll be playing that. But I also like the first period over. We've seen that cash in 4 straight meetings now. And I grabbed it. I was able to grab it early at +115. It's now dropped to +110. I think that's still a great price. Even if the game does slow down later, I think we're going to see some good energy, especially from the Islanders, going back home where they've been absolute dynamite throughout the year. So I like the first period over 1.5 at +$1.10, and I also like Gensel to score +165.
A good adjustment by Pittsburgh. We saw Kyle Palmieri come to life in game 1, pretty much non-existent and didn't do a whole lot in game 2. So give the Penguins and Mike Sullivan and the coaching staff and the team defensively credit, making the adjustment, saying, hey, we're not going to let Kyle Palmieri beat us again. And they were much better keeping him silenced and off the scoreboard in game 2. Terry, what's your thoughts here with game 2, New York Islanders, Pittsburgh Penguins?
I like the draw in this game. I have it at +325. Looking at this game, I was torn on both sides. Like I could see like it's either side winning. I think we go to OT. I think this is a close game. I think it's going to be 2-2 and go to overtime. I am rooting for the Penguins to win the series. So I'll be rooting for Penguins tonight to get the win in overtime. But yeah, I think this is a close game. I think the Islanders put up a good fight, but I think it's going to go to overtime. That's what I like.
All right, liking the draw, and I don't mind that bet at all. I don't mind any draw bet with the way these playoffs have gone. A lot of competitive, tight, one-goal games. The draw you can get in the plus 290, plus 300 range in this game, so keep an eye on that. The draw, Terry liking that with the Penguins and the Islanders. And here we go. It is time to finally talk about it and get this series underway. I can finally see these two fan bases watch a game before just saying back and forth, we're better than you. No, we're better than you. At least now we'll finally get to see who's better tonight. The Montreal Canadiens and the Toronto Maple Leafs, the final first-round series to get underway. Game 1 tonight. We've got the Toronto Maple Leafs minus 205 to minus 210 home favorites, 5.5 the total. Of all series, and usually there's some kind of really decent to strong opinion I have on a Game 1 in any series. I don't have that in this game tonight. I really don't. I can't lay this price with Toronto. This got that feel of Edmonton a little bit. They got to show me that they're ready to put their foot down and win a Game 1. I will say this, though. Edmonton's roster, I wouldn't say, is built to score dirty, grimy, greasy goals, tough goals. Toronto's is now. It wasn't that way last year. It wasn't that way 2 years ago. They can get those tough goals with some of the players they've got up front with Foligno now on the team. Nick Foligno, Hyman now back from injury, which is huge for the Leafs because he's just so good in terms of dogged determination on the puck in all games. To have him back is imperative for this Leafs team. They have Foligno now. They've got Riley Nash, who is going to be playing in the playoffs for the Toronto Maple Leafs. A great playoff centerman. He really is because he's Boston. We know what he did. Columbus, we know what he did. He is a very good two-way center. He's going to be a perfect fit. Another guy that can score tough goals, physical element to his game. Toronto's got a great blend now. Skill, speed, talent, and now grit and defensive ability, defensive forwards, the defensemen that can actually keep the puck out of their own net, like a Bogosian, and a physical presence. He'll be back from injury as well. So it's almost all hands on deck right now for the Leafs. But I've got to see them come out and put their foot down before I even consider backing them or laying this kind of price. And I know they're better than Montreal on paper. They're deeper, stronger, 4 lines, way more than what Montreal has. Montreal after Toffoli, Anderson, there's not a whole lot that I can count on from a forward standpoint. The good news is for them, and this is what you're happy about and gives you some degree of faith if you're a Habs fan in this series. Brendan Gallagher's healthy. He can be on my team any day of the week with the way he plays. He's the one guy that'll pay a price to score goals on this team up front. Shea Weber's going to be back. I know he's not had a great season. He's made some blunders defensively, but you still want him, a veteran defenseman, in your lineup. Carey Price, we'll see what he can do. He's had an up and down injury-plagued season, but at the end of the day, he also played very well in the first series against Pittsburgh when, similarly, nobody gave Montreal a chance to win that series, and they ended up winning it, and Price played well in it. We'll see if he can do it here. He wasn't great in his AHL start the other day against for Laval, but again, I take that with a grain of salt. The way I see this is, look, Toronto's got a monkey on their back. Hell, they don't have a monkey. They have a piano on their back with everything that's expected of them. 17 years without a playoff series win. The last time they won a first-round series was 2004 when Pat Quinn was the head coach of this team. Gary Roberts and Joe Nieuwendyk and Matt Sundin were the top players on the Leafs the last time they won a first-round series. That's how long ago it's been. They got to show me they can do it. I could see this game, look, Montreal using the bulletin board material of nobody in the hockey landscape picking them to make this a much tougher first game for the Toronto Maple Leafs than maybe they think it's going to be. So for that reason, nothing on the side for me. I think nothing on the total because I think it could go over. It could stay under. Toronto's been a lot more of an under team, by the way, down the stretch now that they've committed to a much greater, better, stronger two-way hockey game. And their penalty kill has been better, and their power play, for all the skill they've got, guys, the Leaf power play is brutal. It's been terrible this season, but their penalty kill has been elite. I don't even remember the last time the Leafs gave up a power play goal. So oddly enough, their PK is outstanding. And even without Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, all the skill they have, their power play is lousy. So I could actually see this being slightly lower scoring, but the bet I'm going to take a shot with, I'm not strong on it because I still feel Toronto could win this game in 60. and it could maybe not go to overtime, but I am going to sprinkle on the draw here. The draw is a tantalizing price. It's in the plus 360 range in some books. And look, for all the talk that the Leafs dominated the Habs during the regular season, they did go 7-2-1 against them in the 10 games. But 5 of those 10 games, guys, were 1-goal games. 5 of the 10 regular season meetings between Toronto and Montreal were decided by 1 goal. And if we get that kind of game here, you're live with that draw bet that maybe we could get into overtime. So small bet for me. That's the only bet I've got right now in this game. I want to take this game to analyze, observe, and use what we see for game 2 and beyond. Only bet I have is a very small piece of the draw here at plus 360, Habs and Leafs. Alex, what's your thoughts here? Montreal, Toronto.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I got plus 355 this morning on the draw. I also bet this series to have exactly 3 overtimes at plus 550. I bet that before all the postseason started. So you still have time to bet that before tonight if you wish to choose. But I think this is going to be a tighter series than many expect. I like Toronto to win the series. I think Toronto wins this game, but I just think that it goes past 60 minutes. I think Montreal is going to give as strong of an effort as possible in this game 1. And like I said, the pressure that's on the Leafs is enormous. I could definitely see this being one of those games where, it's going to get a little chippy at times. We might see some penalties called both ways, but I don't think it's going to lead to a lot of scoring. I can see this being a 2-2 game going to OT, and then Toronto finds the way to win it. So I like the regulation draw. That's a great price, getting at plus 355, and you found at plus 360.
It doesn't mean it's going to win, but I think it's the best value bet on the board, the draw here tonight, plus 360 in game 1. I don't think Montreal plus 180, plus 185, given their struggles against Toronto and given the talent and depth advantage that the Leafs have, I don't think that's a great price, to be honest with you, with Montreal. Or it could have been better, could have been higher. Like Toronto's not minus 250 like Carolina's been, or minus 300 or greater like Colorado. So I think Montreal could have been, the value could have been better on Montreal. I think the best value, like I said, is this draw, because I think Toronto, at least in game 1, with such nerves, such anticipation, sometimes you're not right sharp and you just want to win so badly and you're not sharp in the first game. We could see that, and it lets Montreal hang around and push this to overtime. Terry, what do you think here? Habs and Leafs game 1.
I'm actually against you guys. I have a Leafs in regulation minus 130. I think Leafs are going to take this game. The first period, both teams haven't played for quite a few days. I think it's 8 days for the Habs and 7 days for the Leafs, or vice versa. But both teams have been off for a while. Like you said, Price appeared in the AHL for Laval. Didn't really have a very good appearance there. But I'm thinking he's going to be a bit rusty tonight. I think Leafs are going to come out on fire. I think they're going to come out and want to not play like Edmonton did yesterday. I think Leafs want to make a statement. I also think I mentioned on the betcast too with Andrew when we were talking with Andrew McGinnis. I think it's a mistake that Cole Caulfield is not in the lineup. We know the Leafs have a lot of scoring, a lot of firepower. Why would you have one of your good young rookies who's scored quite a few times already? Why would you have him scratched against the Leafs? It doesn't really make sense to me. Do you think there's other players that will score more than him? Like, is it his defensive? Is it because he's not good defensively? I'm not exactly sure, but I think Cole Caulfield not being in the lineup is a mistake. I think Leafs come out on fire tonight, and I think they get the win in regulation.
All right, there we go. Terry liking Toronto in regulation minus 130. Yeah, not a bad price on that. Leafs in regulation, no question about that. We'll see. I don't doubt they're better than Montreal. On paper, they are. But again, teams that are better and look better on paper don't always win. That's what I thought with Edmonton last night. And look who won the game, Winnipeg. With injuries galore, struggles down the stretch, and they still ended up beating Edmonton last night. So that's why they play the games. So we'll see if the Leafs can rise up. Everybody's singing their praises, going to beat Montreal. Some experts even say on TSN and Sportsnet they're going to roll Montreal. Well, here's their chance to try to prove that tonight. I just think tonight it's going to be a little tougher for them than some people think. All right, final game. And it's the game Terry's been waiting to talk about, I know, on this show. The Vegas Golden Knights and his Minnesota Wild, as the scene shifts to the XL Energy Center for Game 3. Series tied at a game apiece. Minnesota slight home favorites now. This was actually Vegas slight road favorites. Now it's Minnesota slight home favorites in this game. -110 to -115, total 5.5 shaded to the under. I'm either going to look like a genius or a complete and utter imbecile in mentioning that I not only like, but I love the over tonight in this game after the first two games. But there's some things that I see going into tonight's game and why I think we could see more goals. First of all, the expected goals for these two teams in this series. Now, look, it has been a clinic of goaltending from Cam Talbot and Marc-Andre Fleury. There's no denying that whatsoever. They have been out of their skull good, out of their minds good in this series, both guys. But the expected goals for Minnesota per game in this series are like 5.5. And for Vegas, it's like 6. All right. So these two teams, given the chances they're generating, could have scored, both of them, 5 or more goals in both of the first two games. And what did we get instead? A 1-0 game for Minnesota in game 1 that went to overtime, and a 3-1 game for Vegas. Look, this has been an incredible display of goaltending sorcery and wizardry from both Cam Talbot and Marc-Andre Fleury. But it can't continue this to this level indefinitely. It just can't. Goalies get worn down. The more shots they face, the more high quality chances they face, the more rubber gets thrown their way. And then you factor in the travel here. Vegas to Minnesota, that wears you down a little bit, especially as a goalie when you faced a shit ton of shots, and both goalies have in the first two games. I could see a little fatigue and a little, we're not as quick with our lateral movements post to post tonight. We're not as quick reading the play, diagnosing where the puck is going in the offensive zone, and just being off your angle slightly if you're physically and a little mentally fatigued, which they could be. A lot of shots in the first two games. Travel back to Minnesota for game 3 tonight with just the standard 1 day off between games, not an extra day of rest for either goalie. I think it could open up some things for the offenses on both sides tonight. So that's the theory, and I'm sticking to it. And I'm also sticking to a long-term theory I've seen in the playoffs, guys, where first two games under in one venue, we switch to the other team's home rink for game 3 after 2 unders in the first two games. And sometimes we see a different result. Oftentimes we do, and we see a change, a paradigm shift, if you will. And all of a sudden we go from 2 unders in game 1 and 2 to an over in game 3. And I've also seen it vice versa, guys. 2 overs in game 1 and 2, and it switches to an under in game 3 with the change of venue and the change of city. I think we get that here tonight. So I like the over here, 5, and I like the price more than anything. Now you're seeing the adjustment. 5.5 was juiced in game 1. 5.5 was even money in game 2. 5.5 to the over now is +110 or +105 in a lot of spots in this game tonight. So I like the over, and I have a smaller bet on Minnesota because I like the idea of them off a loss. I like the idea of Minnesota in a situation where they're playing at home for the first time in the playoffs, and they've been an unbelievable home team. What are they, 21-7 on home ice this season? 21-5-2, but the 5 and the 2 are losses. They're just beyond, or the 2 is beyond a regulation loss. So 21-7 overall on home ice for this Minnesota Wild team. And look, we don't know if Pacioretty's coming back. We have not seen much from Mark Stone in this series. Kaprizov's got to get going a little bit too, but nevertheless, better chance of him getting going for Minnesota maybe than the other guys for Vegas because, again, last line change. Dean Evison will have a little bit of a better opportunity to get his top players and forwards out on the ice when he wants them against a better matchup. So keep an eye on that. I'm on Minnesota and a little bit more of a bet in terms of amount size on the over here, 5.5 +105. Alex, what's your thoughts here? Golden Knights and Wild.
Yeah, it's gonna be 4,500 fans at the Xcel Energy Center tonight, and it's gonna be rocking. Obviously, it won't be the usual 18,000, but it's definitely going to be a jazzed up atmosphere. I mean, everybody's hyped up. I was out and talking to some people during game 2, and everybody's really excited. So that's always a good thing. Like I said, to get that crowd back in your favor. I think this is, like I said, going to be a series where home ice is crucial in that aspect. And like I said, these are 2 close games. Wild could have easily took game 2. But like I said, the goaltending's been absolutely phenomenal. I think we do see a bit of a letdown from both goaltenders, but I feel more confident in the Wild's offense tonight in this game, being back at home. So I'm on the Wild. I got them at +100. Like I said, now they're favorite around a pick and price. small lean to the first period over. That's been kind of biting me in the ass a little bit, and we've gone 0 for 3 with the last 3 times I've backed these two teams in a matchup. So I wouldn't be shocked to even see it, be 1-1. So might me look for something in game with that, but I'm definitely on the Wild to win this game.
All right, like in Minnesota, -110, -115. Max Pacioretty, again, everybody waiting with bated breath because he's had a really good season. He hasn't played yet in this series. He's a game-time decision for Game 3 tonight. We'll see if he suits up. And now we turn it to the Minnesota Wild superfan, fanatic himself, Terry Edelmann. We know who he's on, all right. We could end the show right now without him even saying a word, and we know who he's betting in this game. But Terry, we'll give you the time anyway. Minnesota, Vegas, take it away.
Yeah, so I specifically asked to be on this show today during at the beginning of the playoffs because I remember the Wild's history in Game 3s. So I did some research. In the last 7 Game 3s going into Minnesota, the Wild are 6-1-0. The one loss was against Alex's Blackhawks when they swept us round 2 in 2015. So that was the one loss. Otherwise, we're 6-1-0, not including last year's game in Edmonton because I don't consider that an actual home game for the Wild because they were in Edmonton. So it's 6-1-0, 5-2-0 to the under, and the under is 9-2-0 all time for Game 3s in Minnesota. So I am against you, Ian. I'm on the under 5.5, -125. From what I've seen this series so far, it looks like both goalies are on. I do think we're going to get a few more goals, but I don't think we're going to get to 6. We could, as long as the Wild score the goals. I'm happy. I'll be fine with losing the under if the Wild come through for me. But just the past history just screams the under. And of course, I'm also on Wild money line. I'm getting it at -115 right now. I'm pissed at myself for not grabbing it yesterday when they were plus money. But I am ready for the Wild tonight. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Wild are going to get the win. Like Ian said, Dean Evison gets last change. In my opinion, he should get votes for Coach of the Year. He's been really, really good for us this year. Fiala had 8 shots last game. My issue with Fiala is his teammates. He's playing with Victor Rask and Johansson, which if you put...
They're the 2 guys that haven't pulled their weight the majority of the season.
Yeah.
You're right. Rask and Johansson have been plodding, pedestrian at best, and I'm being kind.
There are Wild fans that like Victor Rask. I don't see it. I see him behind the plays. Like if you put anybody with Kaprizov, obviously they're going to do well. Like if you look at Victor Rask's career, not with Kaprizov, obviously, it's not like his stats aren't good. His stats in Carolina weren't good. So my problem with that is Fiala doesn't have the teammates that he should have to be successful. So that's the only kind of thing I'd look at Evison. Like I think Nico Sturm, who's on the 4th line, who's a young player who has speed, I think you should put Fiala with Nico Sturm and give Matt Boldy a chance. He did well in Iowa. I think if you put those 3 together, I think you could see some speed and some goals. But obviously that's not happening tonight. There's no lineup changes. Zach Parisi is once again scratched. That's a huge thing, the Zach Parisi deal going into the offseason. He had a meeting with his agent and Bill Guerin before Game 1 to have some kind of discussion. I think Parisi's played his last game for Minnesota. And after watching him all these years, it's sad that this is the way it's going. But he's just not quick enough. And if you're facing Vegas, you're facing Colorado, you need speed. And if you're falling behind, like assistant captain or not, I know he's done so much for us over the years, but you have to look at winning, and that's what Evison's doing. So Parisi is once again scratched, so no lineup changes for tonight.
All right, there we go. Yeah, exactly. Zach Parisi's just had a tough season, and he's talented. He's always had good skill, good finishing ability, sees the ice well. The one little detriment and flaw in his game was foot speed. And oftentimes, he's not the fastest skater. Even I think he's an average skater in terms of speed. And unfortunately, you're right. You're playing these teams like Vegas, especially Colorado. Colorado just owns teams with their speed. Just ask St. Louis. They don't have enough team speed right now to face that Colorado team. So that's what you need. And unfortunately, it's not conducive for Minnesota to have Zach Parisi in the lineup right now. It's sad to see it end this way because you're right. I don't think he's coming back. No way after this. But I think it's a situation where it's tough to see it end this way. But I think for the betterment of the team, it's a decision that just has to be made at this point. And it's too bad it gets to that point. But I think the team is making the right call. And look, I'm not going to criticize Bill Guerin. All right, Bill Guerin's done a really nice job. He's definitely getting more comfortable in the GM role. I think he's done a good job. Jimmy definitely likes the job he's done as well. Jimmy Murphy, our colleague, who, by the way, is away today, but he'll probably check in tomorrow at some point during the show. Remember, it's a Bruins game day, so he might only come on for a part of it, but we'll try to get Jimmy on as much as we possibly can. But yeah, it looks like the relationship and the tenure of Zach Parise with the Minnesota Wild is definitely coming to an end and has run its course. But yeah, it looks like we're all on board. We're all Wild fans tonight because we all do have a piece of Minnesota tonight here in Game 3 to get the victory in this one. It's just Terry likes the under and I like the over. And look, it's very simple. It could be a 2-1, 3-1 game again. That would not shock me one bit, but I'm just going to go against the grain, against the flow here, and think that things change a little bit and that we get a few more goals tonight. Great stuff, guys. Alex B. Smith, Terry Edelmann, our special guest, as he gets ready for his Wild to take the ice for Game 3. Before we get to best bets to wrap up the show, first a reminder about our betcast, our second one. It's tomorrow night, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go as late as we can. Make sure you join us for it. Tune in. And if you want to be part of the stream, send me a DM, send the Ice Guys Twitter a DM, and we'll reserve your spot to appear on the stream, and we'll send you the link to the stream right as the show gets underway tomorrow night on Friday. So Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, another Ice Guys Betcast. Join us for that. Tuesday was a lot of fun. I'm sure it'll be just as fun tomorrow night. And also a reminder to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. NHL and NBA playoffs underway. MLB on a daily basis. PGA Championship this weekend. UFC every week. Lots to choose from. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up for an account. If you do that, you'll get a deposit bonus, weekly specials, and incentives, bet boosts as well each and every day. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. All right, it is time for best bets to wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. We'll start with our special guest, Terry Edelmann, because we probably already know what his best bet is, but we'll let him say it anyway. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, Minnesota Wild money line minus 115.
Shocked by that.
my biggest bet of the year is going to be on the Wild tonight. I love this spot for them. I love them going home for Game 3. I think it's going to be a good game. Wild are going to get the win for me tonight. I'm pretty confident in it.
All right, Minnesota Wild in that minus 110 to minus 115 range in Game 3. Best bet for Terry Edelmann. Alex B. Smith, what do you got? Best bet.
We're going to go with the first period over in the Penguins-Islanders game. So you can grab that at plus 110. That's a great price for what we've seen cash already in 4 straight meetings, the last 2 in the regular season, and of course games 1 and 2 in the playoffs. I think the Islanders are going to be jazzed up to be back home, and we'll get to see them score early. But Pittsburgh's not going to go away without a fight, that's for sure. So you also look for that. If your book has that option of both teams to score in the first period, you might even get a better price than plus 110. So I wouldn't talk anyone out of that either. But first, for our show, we'll go Pens Isles. First period over 1.5 plus 110 is the best bet tonight.
All right, there you go. Islanders Penguins over 1.5 for Alex B. Smith in the first period for his best bet. Mine is going to be we're going. There's my Panther sound right there. Florida Panthers plus 115 in the first period. Not the full game. I like the first period more. I think Florida, it's their season right here. They can't go down 3-0. I think they've got that group. That's a good group of players. I mean, good in terms of their tight knit. They're not going to, go quietly into the night. I think you're going to see their absolute best punch, biggest punch thrown tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and specifically that punch to be thrown early in the game. Florida Panthers plus 115, first period. If they get out of the first period with the lead, which I think they could, we'll cash our ticket. We'll get out. We don't want to risk Tampa Bay getting stronger as the game goes on, waking, which they've done already. They've shown us in this series. So Florida plus 115, first period against Tampa Bay. That is my best bet for this Thursday NHL card. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to our special guest, Terry Edelmann, for joining us. Reminder, the Ice Guys is on 7 days a week, live on YouTube, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeart. For Terry Edelmann, for Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on Friday, a Betcast Friday edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast